Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. My name is Sarah, and today my co-host Carrie Bennett and I are going to be making these complex topics of quantum biology and circadian biology understandable to the everyday person. Thank you so much for tuning in. We ask that if you are listening on audio only, that you take a moment to leave us up to a 5-star review. And if you're on YouTube, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It will help to get the show out to more people. And before we jump into today's topic, just a quick reminder to head down to the show notes and check out my free resources as well as Carrie's free resources. We also do have courses on a variety of topics. If you are hoping to dive deeper, Carrie and I both have practitioner courses available as well for anyone who wants to begin to bring these topics to their clients and help them to implement these strategies into their daily lives. So check those out. We also have a co-taught course called Quantum Fertility that is available that allows people and practitioners to work on their fertility using these principles of quantum biology and circadian biology. Again, thank you so much for listening or watching today's show, whichever one you are doing. And let's go ahead and jump into it now. Welcome back to Quantum Conversations. I hope you're having a really awesome day today. Carrie and I are going to talk about shifting into fall, ketosis, and morning routines, because I think those are the things that we really get asked the most questions about, would you say?
Yeah, we understand that this is a transition time of the year, right? And so we talk a lot about, syncing up with your light environment and syncing up with your food environment, right? Your seasonal food environment. But there's a but, right? There's nuance, there's conversation, there's discussion we can have around all these topics to kind of flesh that out a little bit more.
Yeah. And just before we really go into the conversation, you and I both have offers that are completely different. Let's talk about those super quick in case people want to get involved with either one of us on a deeper level. So you go first.
Yeah, sure. So I am running for the second time. I ran this challenge last year and it was wildly successful. And it's my 15-day prep for winter challenge. Mm-hmm. And so the link to sign up for that is in the description here. And what it is basically a 15 email sequence. So 15 days, an email a day with a short little video of me teaching you about how you can prep your body for winter. Coming from a far northern latitude, I used to hate winter. I used to hate the cold. I couldn't warm myself up. I would be depressed. I would use a sad lamp. And I basically thrive in the winter now. I thrive in the summer. I thrive in the winter because you just have to be able to adapt to what your environment is giving you. And so over the course of these 15 days, you'll learn about how to not let your body get cold, right? How your body can generate its own heat and what to do about it. You'll learn about how you can avoid seasonal depression and still feel energetic, while at the same time, you may want to tone down your exercise routine. And if your body is asking for it, why you might want to listen to it. So there's a lot of things I talk about when it comes to how the body shifts and changes in the winter and what you can do to prep for that so that you can actually love winter and not hate it anymore like I used to.
Yeah, I think that's so crucial for people because I'm the same way. I always had seasonal depression. I would always gain weight in the winter. I would find that I would get sick a lot more often. I think it's okay to get sick. Like our body is detoxing and I feel like it's kind of getting an upgrade. But what used to happen to me was like sick and then sick again and then sick again. And it's like I have a couple of days and then I'm sick again. I'm like, what in the world? And so this kind of information is so important because that's completely shifted for me.
I'm so glad you brought that up because it's like this idea that we hear about, how things should be, or if it's bad, if you're getting sick, but I touch on that. I also touch on vitamin D, right? And why I don't think we need to supplement it and what you can do instead and why that might not be the hormone to focus on in the winter, spoiler alert, right? With melatonin and how I think we've been misled to think that we need to take supplements because like you said, because your immune health will suffer. You're gonna get all these colds, you're gonna catch colds if you don't optimize your vitamin D and take 10,000 units of it every day all winter long. And I don't know about you, but I haven't touched a vitamin D supplement in a long time now. And
Either.
I focused on these things that I teach in this email sequence. And I get an occasional cold or flu. I view it as my body detoxifying, right? I totally view it as my body's opportunity to get rid of stuff that doesn't serve it, both in my physical body and in my energetic field. And that feels great, right? It actually feels like I'm giving my body an opportunity. And it's not like it's not like I have a quote unquote weakened immune system because I'm not popping a bunch of vitamin D pills.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to change the paradigm around this, even in the alternative wellness arena. And maybe we'll even do a whole
let's get Jim Stevenson
episode. I know. I've been messaging with him back and forth. Like because I'm trying to get him on my podcast also. So I know he would, but he's apparently uncovered a whole bunch of new things, and it's going to change the world. So stay tuned. We'll have him on ours, and we'll do and mine too, because he's very fired up right now about some new things he's uncovered. But anyone that's wanting to like look into this vitamin D topic a little bit more, I would go to YouTube and type in Jim Stevenson Jr. and look at that stuff, because it's pretty interesting.
And if you're part of the Quantum Biology Collective, he and I did a fun chat maybe 2 years ago now. So go to that old video. I don't know if it's available for public, but that was such a fun discussion about vitamin D.
Yeah. Very interesting stuff.
If you want a citizen researcher, he's like the ultimate citizen researcher right there.
110%. He's a PhD too. So he does like understand how to read and interpret research. He's not just, making stuff up. He really understands like how to make this stuff actually make sense. So yeah.
Totally.
So you've got that challenge. We'll put that link in the show notes, and that starts on September.
Same as yours. It's the equinox.
23rd.
Yep.
Okay.
So yep.
Okay. So I'm also doing a leptin reset equinox challenge, which is my full leptin program, which I've completely redone the entire program.
Wow.
As of this summer, because let's face it, I've learned so much since I originally created the program in 2022. So if you have the program and you haven't logged in, you'll want to, because I've redone the whole entire thing, just to like bring in a whole bunch more information. But you're going to get the full program and you got lifetime access, but you'll also get daily emails from me to accompany each of the day's lessons, as well as 3 Zoom meetings, group Zoom meetings, where we're going to answer questions. You can submit them in advance if you can't be there live, and then we send you the recording. So it's a really good way to, implement this stuff specifically for fall. And then it's just a really great way to get support. And if you have the program already, like I mentioned before, you're going to want to log in and do it again. And you can purchase calls only. So that link that we'll put down in the show notes, you can just log in and just get the calls for a really heavily discounted price. So again, I know a lot of people, it's fall, and that's why we're doing, or fall, it's not fall yet. It still feels like summer here, but it's coming. The equinox is coming. So Carrie has this really amazing 15-day challenge that's super accessible, affordable for everyone. My leptin program is a little bit more like support intensive and information intensive. So neither one of them really compete with one another. You could do both technically.
Well, and I think both of them, correct me if I'm wrong, you get lifetime access to mine, right? Lifetime access to yours. Yep. So it's one of those things where, feel free to get both and then just do whichever program, if you feel resonates with you at this time, because you'll have access to both of them forever.
Yeah. And with my leptin program, we'll probably update it again. Anytime I find like new information, I'm like, oh, I gotta throw this in my leptin program. So that program is like very dynamic. And it will stay that way. So if you get lifetime access now, you'll get the future updates, and I don't charge for those, and I don't charge a monthly fee or any of that stuff. So cool. Good options.
Fun options for that. And so then today we're going to touch on just 2 topics basically that you and I go deeper into when it comes to these with our 2 different challenges. And that would be the topic of what about my light environment, right? And syncing up with my light environment, because it could look so different throughout the winter, depending on where someone lives. And then what about ketosis? I hear I'm supposed to, it's winter, there's food scarcity, I'm supposed to get into ketosis, but there's nuance behind that as well. So where do you want to start?
Let's start with the morning, because I think that's the biggest one that I'm starting to get a lot of questions about, is like, okay, what the heck do I do? The summer has been awesome. I haven't had to have as strict of a schedule. I've had some time off or no kids in school. So getting outside in the morning has been very easy, but now I've got to get kids to school or I've got to get to work. I've got to do all these things. And that is like most of it before sunrise. So how do I tackle morning and keep myself synced up to light signals and kind of deal with this wintertime late sunrise thing? So I think that's where we should probably start.
Yeah, it's a great place to get started. And this is again, there's nuance to this because where I live, the sun will never rise, extremely late. Like I know some of you are living in latitudes where you're going to get like a 10 o'clock sunrise or an 11 o'clock sunrise. You have to be at work for a long period of time leading before that. And so there's potential like a little bit of nuance that we can discuss there. But in general, the general rule of thumb is always wear your orange tone blue blockers when you wake up in the morning until you either can get outside for sunrise at your home setting or until you have to drive, right? At which point it would be unsafe to drive with them on. And then I would wear my yellow lenses. And then if I'm in an environment where I have to go into, let's say, a typical office environment, the orange ones for me are going to go back on at least for a little while. But you're not necessarily going to have that rev of energy that you would get, that cortisol surge in the same way, perhaps, that you could get if you had sunrise sinking first because you had that natural light burst, that bright light energy. So we can talk a little bit about how we can maybe sync up some energy support practices in there. But generally it's true, right? You do the best you can. Right now, sunrise is at 7. I'm driving the kids to school, windows down, sunroof open. It's not warm. It was 49 degrees in the morning, so it's not like it's super warm, but spoiler alert, we have to adapt to the cold. So there you go. It's like, I'm still getting it the best that I can. It's not perfect. It never will be perfect all the time, but I'm getting that light signaling into my eyes as best as possible. I'm wearing my orange tone glasses up until then.
So this is the big question is, how do you get the kids' lunches ready? How do you get them ready for school? How do you, now I know you don't wear makeup because I really don't.
I got mascara on today.
I know, me too. Had to go out of the house today. So I did put on mascara. That's about it. But I will get that question quite often. How do I get ready for the day if I'm wearing the orange tone blue blockers? What kind of lights do you use? Do you use lights? How do you deal with it?
Yeah. So number one, I do a lot of prep the night before if I can. Right. It's like you could pack a lot of stuff, like get the lunch boxes out, get the water bottle situated, right? You can get a lot of that stuff done the night before. I've also become very adept, as I'm certain you have, with doing things with orange tone blue blockers on, like, opening my refrigerator, even though it's got red, like I cover the lights with red, like it's a red glow coming from the fridge, but it's like, I know where to grab what I need to put it in the kids' lunches. And so just make that easy for you by either doing things the night before. My kids wear uniforms to school, lay them out the night before, right? Make sure it's all clothes are clean. It really is just basically prepping. In terms of makeup, I don't typically shower first thing in the morning. But there's bulbs you can use in your bathroom that are like the light bulbs that you would get from a company like Bon Charge, right? So they have these some great light options where you don't have any blue light in your bulbs, and in that way you can have bulbs that can still illuminate your space. They're not super bright, and they're not going to artificially stimulate your circadian rhythm. So I would recommend a bulb like that. It's not going to be the makeup light, right? It's not going to be, if you're used to using one of those makeup mirrors that has, that they have in hotel rooms, right?
Blue light.
My gosh, I just broke my headphones during that. But yeah, so it's not going to be the same. So that's where you're also going to maybe pare down your makeup routine a little bit. I really recommend, if ever possible, not putting a ton of stuff on our skin, right? If at all possible. So maybe paring that down, finding a hairstyle that you could do the night before, even like things like that. It's like, can you shower and, get your hair dried and done in a style the night before? Or I tell people, if you're getting to the office when the sun is rising, that natural light from putting your makeup on in a car is the best ever. If I need to pluck an eyebrow hair or something, that's the best place to pluck an eyebrow hair, right? Because you'll see it. I'll be like, oh, there it is. Right. I got a couple of stragglers there that I like to pluck every once in a while. So that would be the environment in which you could bring your makeup bag and put it on with your windows open, sunroof open, something like that, and then get that light signaling while you're doing it.
Love that idea.
Right. I mean, hair too, just simplify it if at all
Yeah.
possible. Simplify it if at all
Yeah.
possible.
That's what we want from this whole lifestyle, I think, is to simplify, because the more simple that you can make all of this, the easier it is to adhere to,
Yeah.
like that's people are so eager to like do this whole like protocol and get like like we want to keep things like literally as easy as possible. So it's a lifestyle that you can be doing 5 years from now. That's the thing I appreciate about this lifestyle so much. It's like, I want to do it. I feel so good. And like you said,
100%.
just going back to like the fact that we're talking about shifting into a new season, I am excited about a new season and the change in temperature and being a little cold. And like, I'm excited about it. It's because I know I'm not going to feel bad. I know I'm not going to gain a bunch of weight. I know I'm not going to go through all the stuff I used to, because I can implement these things and they're really pretty simple to do. So yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's it's all, that's great. It's true. It's like, we want you to be able to make sure that you can adapt this quantum circadian lifestyle to the winter and be successful in the winter, regardless of where you live. It's a misnomer. I have so many thriving clients in northern latitudes. It is a misnomer that you cannot thrive if you're at a northern latitude. However, if you're at a northern latitude and you're not willing to get cold adapted or able to get cold adapted, you're not blocking the artificial light at night, because sometimes you got to put those blue blockers on a little quite early, right? That's a mismatch, right? That's an environmental mismatch for you. And then regardless of where you are, if you have an environmental mismatch, it doesn't matter where you're living, your body is not going to be in the best state of health that it can be. But here, I'm going to get cold. I teach my body how to get cold. I know how to use, and again, I teach this in my course, my challenge, about using red light therapy, maybe a little bit more or differently in the winter. What about sauna? What about heat? How do we support our body with this? And not when we can't just go outside and wear a swimsuit and soak up the sun that way. And there's ways that we can totally do that. And so it's one of those ideas of, I like this conversation because yes, summer and winter could look different. It's for me a lot simpler in the summer. I think it is for you too, because it's like, do I want to earth and ground? Sure. Let me just step outside. Do I want to get my light, soak up some light nutrients? Sure. Let me just take my shirt off and, sit on the deck, it might, you might have a little bit more strategic in the winter, but it's very, very doable nonetheless. So I want this to not sound like it's overly complicated, but encourage you to recognize that you can sync with your environment regardless of where you live, and you can thrive.
Yeah. And, just another thing about morning, I think it's important to have something to eat, because we always talk about eating around sunrise. But if sunrise is at 8 a.m. and you have to be in your car driving and then at work, and you kind of got to get stressed and do all this stuff, I would eat before I start driving, like carve out a few minutes just to eat a little something to stabilize your blood sugar, and give your body that like sense of safety, because it is going to make a big difference in that, cortisol and which pathway it decides to go down. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So options for that. I'm a huge fan of hard-boiled eggs. We got some great local eggs from a farm. So I love hard-boiled eggs. There's some you can get some really good quality, like beef sticks, easy, protein rich, something that you can grab. Let me think. I'm a huge fan. Super easy. Sardines or canned salmon, a little bit of good quality mayo on that. It's like, that's for me, that's a very simple, easy mom breakfast to have. That's satiating, nutrient rich, good protein in it. I just feel really good when I have that on board.
Yeah. My daughter has been really loving like egg bites lately, which are, I don't even really have a recipe that I could give anyone, because all I do is just like throw a bunch of eggs in a bowl, pour in some raw cream that I got from the farm, turn on the blender, maybe
some sausages,
throw some sausages, throw some onions, peppers, like whatever, a little bit of raw cheese I got from the farm, put it in muffin tins, bake it, boom, and then in the morning, you just take that out. You can throw it in the oven for a couple minutes, or if you have a good air fryer, you can put in the air fryer for 2 to 3 minutes. And that is just such an easy breakfast. And my daughter loves it. I always love to make sure she's got a good brain stabilizing, healthy breakfast in the morning. And sometimes she'll have a spoonful of salmon roe. And that's just an easy thing you can do, to really help give your body that perceived sense of safety and optimize your hormone balance for the day, really.
Well, right. And in the morning, your body is looking. One of the reasons why cortisol surges in the morning is because it basically revs up activity function in the brain and in the body, right? So it's like that hypothalamic pituitary axis is waking up your digestive tract. It's waking up your thyroid. It's waking up your adrenals. And so what you're looking to do is you're looking to say, okay, this is the morning. And so here's your food, right? Here's your food. And so that pathway can start to, again, also get revved up because of a repetition of you doing a consistent activity. Now, there's things that people, I have had clients who are in darkness for quite some time, who I do recommend that before, like, let's say until 10 o'clock in the morning, I do recommend that if they can squeeze it in, they do something that elevates their heart rate or body temperature, core body temperature, or if they've got time for it, to do morning red light therapy. Just something else. And so there's nuance to this, right? A little bit of brightness, right? A little bit of brightness without the blue light coming into your body. But those are like secondary circadian signals, meal timing and body temperature elevation, right? That you can manipulate to say, okay, body, this is morning. So if it were me and I had to, let's say, get into an office by 9 o'clock in the morning and the sun wasn't rising until 10, 11 o'clock, I would try to, for sure, eat breakfast, get a little red light therapy, and then do something movement wise, that maybe some push-ups or some squats or something that got my heart rate up a little bit, just to kind of get that body temperature elevated, and just do that consistently. It doesn't have to be a 60-minute workout, but if you send your body those signals consistently day in and day out, most days of the week, your body will start to anticipate and know, oh, this is morning, and we can anticipate light signaling in a couple of hours.
Yeah. I think, and doing a cold plunge or cold shower just putting your face in ice water. You don't even have to do like a cold plunge. Those are also ways to like give your body that secondary signal if there's an absence of light, to like reinforce circadian signaling, because those are food and temperature are the zeitgebers right behind light, which are secondary timekeepers that basically get your circadian rhythm to be activated and get started for the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so we rely on those more in the winter months because of just how our modern work environments are constructed, right? And in the summer, there's nuance too, because if you're at a latitude where the sun rises at 3 in the morning,
you don't want to get up at 3 a.m.
You don't get up at 3. So yeah, you are you're skipping sunrise, but you're syncing up with the light right away. And so that is your primary signal. Your brain is smart enough to be like, oh, these are the frequencies of light that are present here, and the blue light's still increasing. It's morning. And so that's your primary signal there. In the winter, you might have to shift a little bit, right? It might have to be meal timing, body temperature, movement that are the first things that your body tunes into, and then the light comes later.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's hard to talk on this topic sometimes because everyone lives on a different latitude, and, maybe like 0.0001% of people live in a place where there might not even be a sunrise for like a couple of days out of the year, or like in the summer, there's a couple of days where there's no sunset for a couple of days out of the year. So we have to just kind of like think about it. You're going to utilize these secondary things and then adjust for where you are on the planet, what season it is, your latitude, all that stuff is it comes into play. And that's why you and I offer more, like our private groups and things like that, where we do have group Zoom meetings where we can actually talk through some of this stuff if it's really confusing to people. So we both have that option as well. But just to lay it out there basic, like strong signaling in the morning, if there's an absence of light, bring in some other stuff. One thing I was going to ask your opinion on, Carrie, I have my own opinion about it, is the 10,000 lux light boxes for people who, like, before, if the sun's not coming up till like, let's say 8 o'clock in the morning, should someone do a lux light box to wake themselves up for the day?
It's not generally my favorite thing, right? It's not my favorite. Yeah. I mean, yes, there is research out there that indicates that there is an energizing effect and a potentially an anti-SAD, seasonal affective disorder effect of that sort of stimulation. But at the same time, I feel like those are such a bright color temperature and they are such a blue light dominant device
Yeah.
that the potential for it to dysregulate
Balance.
things is even. So I would rather use the secondary Zeitgebers and then get the light
Mhm.
when I can. So if you
Yeah.
are in an office environment, that means and listen, I've worked with teachers, I've worked with factory workers, we've worked with
Same.
the gamut, right? Nurses, doctors. There will always be opportunities during your break periods, your scheduled break periods, to go outside. And so you just
Mhm.
have to take advantage of that. And then if you've got a period of time, such as the weekend, where you can do more light signaling, do it, right? It'll add up and it'll just enhance what you're doing during the work week. But you do have to take advantage of going into that bright light as soon as it's available to you, because the lux will be a lot more intense than you're experiencing in your work environment, bar none. And I know, Sarah, you're launching an app that's going to have a lux meter. It's going to be great, right? To be able to, for people to really understand that lux is a measurement of the brightness, how bright your environment is. And there's a huge difference, even on cloudy days. So this is
Yeah.
another one that's great to have on winter, because I hear, oh, but the sun's not available and the sun doesn't come out. It's like, don't care. That
Pull out that
brightness.
lux meter and go outside and it will surprise the heck out of you every time. That's what I love about this app is I've been playing around with it and I'm like looking at the lux at sunrise. No way in heck would I want to do a 10,000 lux light box because the lux around sunrise is like 500 to 1,000. It's like slowly coming online. So you don't want to blast your brain with that amount of brightness. And then even when it's been completely cloudy and overcast, I've gotten as high as like 10,000 lux
Yes.
in the middle of the day when it's like, I'm like, oh, it's so depressing out here. It's 10,000 lux.
Mhm.
I mean,
oh, and on a bright sunny day, I've been in a part of my
100,000.
house. I've just been playing around with because I got your app. I just been playing around with your app. And so I went to a part of my house it's sunny outside, perfectly sunny outside. We're still in, summer brightness. And there's a chair there and it's 8 lux, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge difference, right? That 8 lux. No wonder if I'm sitting in that chair, I feel like, ooh, I'm tired. Like, no wonder why.
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah.
how I mean, the difference there between outside, that there'd probably be like 20,000, 30,000. I don't even know. I mean, I should have taken the meter out right then. But the brightness would have been astronomically different.
Yeah. And I've been looking through some of the research and it's around 2,500 lux that is important for metabolism, for brain health. That's about the as much as you need, like 10,000, sure, it's great, awesome. But like you want to get that from sun if you're going to get that. And that's really more towards
we should say natural light. Yeah.
Yeah, natural light. Being outdoors is where you would want to get that sort of lux, not from an artificial source because it's not balanced with red or infrared like we would get it outdoors, and it could really dysregulate your cortisol, I think. So,
and
yeah,
nervous system. I mean, that's quite a shock to the nervous system as well, going from like 0 to whoa, super bright environment that just doesn't exist in nature.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And even like opening a window is valuable. Like the other morning I had James inside and we were playing inside, like on his little pillows. And I have this window, it faces east. And I was like, I don't want to disturb him from his Play-Doh. And like he's toddler right now, and toddler gets big mad. And so I'm like, you know what? Instead of like disrupting this whole little nice flow we have, I'm just going to open the window. And out of curiosity, I used my lux meter from my new app. And with the window closed, it was like 25 lux. And then I opened the window and literally it went up to 10,000 lux where we were sitting. It was around UVA time. And it was like, whoa, okay. So just opening a window can do really amazing things for you. You don't, if you can't always go outside, that can really be helpful as well for that signaling. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you brought that up.
So Carrie, I don't know about you, but I'm doing a couple little trips this summer. And what is the one thing that you're definitely going to be bringing with you on your packing list?
I love portable red light therapy for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes.
You can't underestimate, honestly, what red light therapy can quote unquote treat or support when you're away, from like eating something that disagrees with you to like your kid falls and scrapes the knee and you want to do a little extra repair and support, to a headache, to an earache, to, like, you name it, and just then as general maintenance, right? Or like, let's say you're at the beach, you want to precondition your skin, right? All these things. And
Or you're traveling on an airplane and you want to kind of offset some of that mitochondrial damage that's going to naturally happen from being in a plane. Like, I know Dr. Sarah brings her this is our Bond Charge Mini, and you can use the code Quantum Pod to save on yours. But I know she will just kind of put it the thyroid, right? Because when you're in an airplane, you are exposed to high levels of non-native EMF, and a little panel could be a great way to support your mitochondria to make more exclusion zone water so that there's a little bit of a protective barrier when you're in those high stress environments, right?
Exactly. And then also in a pinch, I'll use that, like, let's say in a hotel room or something, to turn on a light if I need to, right? It's just in a pinch, it's a really good way just kind of almost like act as a flashlight or illuminate the space at night, if you need to for some reason. So I have found so many uses for that portable red light therapy.
Yep. It's awesome. So if you are interested in one of these, you can use the code Quantum Pod. This is by Bond Charge. They are sponsoring the podcast. We really appreciate that. And check them out. There's a link down in the show notes.
I have a lovely community member who was kind of struggling because she's going through a period where she was unable to wake up at UVA rise and go outside, like sunrise, couldn't do it. UVA, her body was like, just not feeling energized to do that. And I said, well, do you have a place in your bedroom where you can open your window without a screen even, and literally just sit there? As soon as you wake up, just sit there. And she did something lovely. She actually moved her bed to that area and then she would wake up. As soon as she woke up, she would open the window, the screen's out, so she within a very short period of time, we're talking like a week's worth of time, noticed a huge difference. So she's waking up earlier. She's having more energy. Now she's catching the UVA rise. So she's going to start catching. So her body is shifting her circadian rhythm in the correct direction. And she's feeling very supported by it. Her body, her nervous system, everything is feeling very supported by it. And it's the simple thing was putting her bed by a window so that she could open the curtains and open the window and have that sunlight come in, or that light come in as soon as she wakes up in the morning.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that story, because we do get people that are just, their health is not good, and it's hard to get them out of bed. It's hard to get them, like, even going outside is a challenge because
they're in pain, they're inflamed, they're exhausted, they're, right? Like, that's just one other thing that they have to do in a body that really doesn't want to do anything right now. And so, I was so proud of her for kind of figuring that out, and just to have her, say that she noticed such a difference in a short amount of time. It's just very inspiring for other people who that might be how you do it right now. It's like I said, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to work for you.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. You got to make it work for you. And that's again why we have private communities, so we can talk through things, because sometimes you need more than a free video to help you. But we also, of course, still try to put out as much free information as we can. And so this information you can kind of interpret it for yourself. But we do have those options for people who really need it. Is that what you would say is good for morning routine? Have we got that pretty?
I would say, I would absolutely say so. I think it's like, you do the best you can. And if you need to rely on secondary zeitgebers to create that kind of start for your day, that secondary signal to surge cortisol, that's perfectly fine. Cortisol should surge in the morning. And so if you need those signals, utilize them, take advantage of them, but be consistent. It's that the consistency of all this is key. It's like, okay, so I'm going to try to have my breakfast always around 7:30. I'm going to try to have my red light therapy at this time. I'm going to try to do my movement at this time, right? Just keep them synced and keep them consistent. And that would be the best way that you can go about it.
100%. Yeah. I love that. And now that we're talking about the morning routine, food, does everybody need to go keto in the winter? Like, what's your opinion on that? How does that work for people?
Well, number one, I don't think people need to be in ketosis 24/7, 365 in any capacity unless it's medically needed, which for some people it's medically needed. Okay. And so let me just put that out there. However, if you're, what are some of the benefits of ketosis in the winter in particular? Well, number one, typically where a lot of people live, such as myself, we would have a complete scarcity of a vast majority of produce, right? I wouldn't have access to the bountiful harvest that I have right now. And guess what? The bountiful harvest that I have right now is full of fructose rich foods. Oh, I got a little fly on my glasses of fructose rich foods that temporarily elevates urocanic acid and causes a mild bit of insulin resistance, right? And we're designed to become mildly insulin resistant right now in order to make sure I'm not just shedding body fat and don't have a little bit extra come wintertime in case I'm encountering scarcity. So if the body didn't prepare for scarcity until the scarcity hit, we would have been out of luck as a species, right? Yep. And so just make note, we're tying into these signals all the time. And so then in anticipation of scarcity, I do believe that there is a benefit for a lot of people getting into ketosis cyclically and or fasting in a circadian appropriate fashion, not necessarily aggressively per se, because not everyone can handle that. But I do think that fasting could be another implementation of scarcity in the winter. But there are definitely people who I believe that it's counterindicated to be in ketosis, go very low carb, and do some aggressive fasting. And that would be people who have low leptin, because people with low leptin
underweight too.
and they're underweight. Thank you. Low leptin and underweight, because these are individuals whose body is assuming that there's a threat and there's scarcity anyways. And to put it through a more stressful experience, more threat, more scarcity is actually counter what it needs at that moment in time.
Yeah, I think that because I have been getting a lot of people who are low leptin with like 30 pounds to lose, they can still do a little ketosis, but they need to carb cycle. They need to probably and how much you need to do that is going to be dependent on your stress levels, dependent on how much nervous system regulation you're also weaving in, which is going to be the circadian work. But I do think if you have excess weight, like 30 pounds or so, you can push some ketosis, but you got to carb cycle. You got to work on the other stuff, your nervous system, to give yourself that sense of safety, because too much, if you try to stay in ketosis all the time, that's just going to make things worse and you're going to get more dysregulated.
Agreed. And also with those individuals, I actually like them to try to shrink their fueling window if they can, right? And so sometimes they do well with a little carbs at breakfast and a little carbs at lunch. They do okay with that. But then if they want to work to get into their body into ketosis throughout the course of a 24-hour clock, that would be, having an 8-hour fueling window as opposed to eating longer and allowing the body to naturally get into that ketosis while you're sleeping. So yeah, there's strategies for everyone, but what I see happen all the time, and you did hit the nail on the head with nervous system support too, is that I see people who are either of quote unquote normal weight or underweight, right? So essentially they don't have a lot of stored adiposity, stored body fat, who kind of assume that their leptin is high, or the way that they need to support leptin is through ketosis all the time. And, cold plunges, aggressive cold plunging, strict exercise habits. And that's a recipe for disaster, frankly. And so in the winter, you may be someone who still need carbohydrates on a daily basis, even maybe lunch, you always need carbohydrates. Maybe you need them at every single meal, and you're eating high quality ones. And that's what's making your cycle regulated, your sleep regulated, your energy levels feel supported. You're not getting blood sugar fluctuations. I mean, so there is nuance to this. So when you hear people say, oh, in winter, you really should fast a lot and get into ketosis, you gotta ask yourself, am I maybe one of these low leptin people? And the best way to know leptin is to test, frankly.
Test it. Yeah, exactly. You got to do if you're unsure, test, and most people, if you have like 30 pounds or more to lose, you're in an elevated leptin situation. But I was one of those who wasn't. I had very low leptin and I had 30 pounds to lose. But what I did do is ketosis with carb cycling. And I wasn't doing any carb cycling at all. Was terrified of carbs, completely terrified. And that's what pushed my body into this low leptin with excess body weight state. Now that's very small percentage of people that do low carb for a long time. So that's, not necessarily likely to be the case, but if you're really unsure, just get a blood test, a fasting blood serum leptin test, 12 to 14 hours fasted, don't have coffee, cream, breakfast, soda, anything to drink, maybe besides water before that test, and just check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I have a feeling that would be an optimum thing for people to do before they would get your program too. So they would know what strategies you're talking about and what would benefit them. They could really hone in on with that program you have coming up, what their unique situation is.
Yeah. And I always ask people when they, like in my group this morning, I had a question of somebody who, has low leptin, but she has extra 20 pounds. And then she also wants to optimize her fertility. And so she's like, I've been doing ketosis. And I'm like, let's push in a little bit more carb cycling. And we're going to work on all the things in my leptin program to help you optimize leptin, period. So it's a full lifestyle that starts at sunrise and doesn't end until you go to bed. It's like we have to look at the whole picture. But with your food, I'm not going to keep you in ketosis all the time, especially if you're low leptin, even if you have 20 pounds to lose, but you want to optimize your fertility. So I always am asking people in my group, okay, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Because somebody who's just wants to lose 20 pounds, but doesn't necessarily, like it's so like goal dependent, that it's hard to give like here's a specific protocol for everyone,
Oh, 100%. 100%. In both of those cases though, like when someone is hoarding body fat, it's either because the signal is not being heard and or the signal is not being released the signal, the body feels like there's a big time threat, right? It's scared, right? Yeah. There's scared, there's scarcity, there's a threat. And so if you think, I always have people like, who are in a low leptin state, regardless of their adiposity, I still have them focusing on what I call total nourishment. So like, are you doing something because I know I have to get to that boot camp class at 5:00 in the morning because I have to burn this many calories because I was told I need to do blah, blah. Are you doing that because of that? Or are you doing something movement based that feels supportive and nourishing and right feels good? So I always also say in those cases of low leptin, regardless of how much body fat you have, think about what feels safe and nourishing in terms of the other things you're doing as well, with not just the food source of things, right? But what you're doing with all of your other activities as well, because a lot can be done when you actually allow your body the sense of safety to signal stronger. So the body can then optimize body fat. It feels like it can release some body fat. It has some to burn. Oh, there's not a battle that's being fought continuously that I have to hoard body fat for. I can actually give some up and kind of regulate my body weight. And so these are just side benefits. Body weight regulation are side benefits of the type of lifestyle you're describing.
Yeah, 100%. Like that. That's what I like people to see is like, it's not just to lose weight. I come at people with that because it's the shiny thing everyone thinks they want, but it's a side effect of having balance in your life. When your body feels safe, when you have the nourishment that you need, when you're getting the appropriate light and dark signals, you're getting the nourishment from light, your body will naturally balance itself. That is really the crux of what you and I teach. And it is for a lot of people going to look like a really nice, stable, healthy weight and one that you're happy with. Unless you got some body dysmorphia issues, which is another thing that we have to look at sometimes. But on the whole, it's going to bring you into a state of balance. And that's going to look like longevity. That's going to look like better sleep. That's going to look like more energy. That's going to look like all these other things.
Low inflammation, glowing skin, better digestion. Yeah. Feeling ease of movement. There's so many benefits that we can get. I always the weight. I know it's a primary thing people focus on, but I always say that's got to be the side benefit of all the other things you're doing to support all these other aspects of your health.
Yeah. And it will work. But yeah, we got to look at the whole picture. And then if it's not working, we can get more strategic with food, or we may need to get more strategic with the nervous system. And I don't mean like go at it harder. I mean, like stop going to boot camp at 5 a.m.
Yes.
Stop doing things that are stressing your body out and continuing to put you in a state where it wants to protect you all the time. That we've done full episodes on that topic before, because both of us have been fitness instructors. And I was like the puffy, inflamed 20, 30 pound overweight fitness instructor for 12 years, couldn't figure it out. Well, maybe I shouldn't have been teaching classes all day and then doing a workout at 5 a.m. and then squeezing in another one in the afternoon.
Just
like
drinking coffee until 2:00.
Like my Fitbit to see if I got my 10,000 steps before 8 a.m. Like maybe not. Perhaps that was not good for my body.
In general. In general, especially for your nervous system. No, exactly. So, a lot of what I found, and I don't know, does it I think we just sound too good to be true, but I've done so much less. I've done so much less than I've ever done. I've done a lot more solar nourishment with the sun, soul or nourishment inside, right? And then, yes, I'm not eating garbage. I have playtime and creative time with my kids and myself, my husband. I mean, like, there's so much that I feel like I've cut back on, and I feel like I feel so youthful. But gosh, I used to teach stupid amounts of classes, 4 classes a day. Right. And and I have the same strength, like, no joke. I'm a strong human being in general. God blessed me with strength. And so I could power lift a lot of weight, and I can still do it if I wanted to, because, I just feel like what I'm doing is just supporting my body in general, and my body is just maintaining, but I'm doing so much less, and it feels so good.
Yeah. I shocked myself like a couple months ago. Now I'm playing around with it more, of course, but I was like, I haven't done a handstand since like years ago. And I would always have to like use the wall. Like I could never really figure it out. And I can do a handstand in the middle of the room now. Like I could never do that before, but it's something about this way that we have rebalanced the body, nourished the body the right way. All of a sudden I can like kick up into a handstand in the middle of the room, and it's like no big deal. Like, nice. And I'm not scared, and I don't fall onto my back. I have videos of myself in my backyard. Like, oh Lord. Not good, but yeah, I can like kick up and hang out up there. I'm like, wow, that's insane. And I haven't even practiced it in years. So it's pretty amazing what your body can do when you give it the right signals and the right supports. And it doesn't have to be super extreme, because I posted on my Instagram stories over the weekend. It was Labor Day weekend, and I was posting like a little picture of my new app, shameless plug. It's got a little vitamin D, sun exposure meter to tell you maybe to come out, you've overdone it. Like you can put in all the stuff. And so I had a little picture of the timer, and I had a kombucha, which has got sugar in it. It's not something I tell people to drink, but I like
you for the kombucha.
Girl, is that keto? Is that a low carb? I'm like, when did you start thinking I was keto? I'm not doing keto right now. Like, and I can drink a kombucha in the middle of the day, in the middle of the sun, like, and it doesn't cause an issue for me.
Well, and you don't have histamine issues. You don't
get histamine issues. I don't have, but there was a time in my life where I wouldn't go near that drink because I would get the histamine issues and the blood sugar dysregulation, and then I'd have more hunger later and it'd be a mess. I get it.
And yeah. No,
now it's
I know. I feel the same way.
I just want people to understand it doesn't have to be so hard. You do have to be consistent. You do have to show up, and sometimes it's going to take time. It could take a couple years or a year, or it could take some time. Yeah. But if you're consistent and you show up and you stay the course, then you can expect this sort of balance. It doesn't have to be as hard as it's made out to be,
That's exactly it. And what I find fascinating is I've heard that time and time again in my community. You and I have done this obviously on our own as well. And the fact that our stories parallel each other so much, it's not like you and I have been like comparing notes, right? You and I have just been doing this, and we realize that, wow, my gut is healed. My insomnia is healed. My pain went away. I'm still as strong. It's like, you just realize that this is a side benefit. These are side benefits of just living more in tune with nature, right? We're going back to nature, God, source energy, right? We really are just realigning our body back with that. And when you do, just get out of the way and let your body heal.
Definitely. And I guess one question, we could just wrap the conversation up a bit, because I get this, the people who do want to have the carbs in the winter.
Sure.
I've got a whole thing in my leptin program, but maybe we can just give some free information out, what do you usually recommend to people?
Well, I always love the root vegetables, right? I think root
Mhm.
vegetables, they're cellular stable. Um, and so basically cellular stable produce, but root vegetables are great because root vegetables have a grounding energetic quality to them, right? They're this nourishing grounding energy. And when I can't necessarily ground in the winter barefoot, except for a few minutes at a time, in the snow, then it feels good. My body loves, I don't go 100% ketosis in the winter at all. But I do. So when I do add carbs, it's carbs like that they feel really supportive just for carb cycling, but also supportive just with that grounding energetic quality as well.
I love that. And that's exactly what I recommend as well. Squashes, root vegetables, you can do stews and throw those things in there. Um, Super nourishing. I don't recommend, and I think Ayurveda and what we teach definitely has a lot of overlap.
Oh, sure.
And in Ayurveda, they'll tell you not to eat big salads and raw vegetables and juices and smoothies and things like that in the winter.
Warming, nourishing. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to bring more fire into the digestive system, more soothing, more warmth. And so just follow that with your diet also. And, people ask, can I eat fruit in the winter? Maybe some frozen berries if you've gotten them, like maybe, but you just got to check and see how you feel with that. I would just definitely stay away from like the tropical fruits more, like, especially if you're like where you live, I would not be slamming mangoes and
I don't crave those. I mean, like, honestly, if I do every once in a great while in the winter, I'll crave a banana, I'll crave a mango, I'll crave honeydew melon, every once in a great while. And I give it to my body at that point because I know my body is asking for something. There's some nutrient or some nourishment, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Vitamin C, who knows, that my body is asking for. And so then I'll give it to it, but I don't crave fruits, or I don't like the thought of cold fruit smoothies in the winter, tropical fruit smoothies in the winter it's just not in resonance with my body at this point. But when I was doing more of the fruit smoothie diet, let me do my fruit smoothie diet. I would do it, right? I just was so out of touch with what my body was asking for. I did something because I thought it was good for me, or I thought that was being healthy. I wasn't really listening. Yeah.
How do you feel about vitamin C supplementation in the winter? Because I know you're going to talk about vitamin D supplementation. I talk about that in my programs too, how we don't really recommend that. A lot of people will say they take vitamin C in the winter to prevent colds, flu, all that stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, if I have people do a case by case basis on this, right? Some people really love a little bit of vitamin C specifically for connective tissue support, but to that I say, squeeze a little lime or lemon in your water, right? It's not about having to have a supplement per se. It's not about, and yeah, those are not local, they're not seasonal, but they've got great nutrients in it, great minerals.
They're low sugar.
Low sugar, low deuterium. They've got the vitamin C. And so, I have people who want to support that and they love, and I actually will do this. I don't do it every morning, but I love warm water and lemon.
Lemon, I love it. That's what I used to do. Oh yeah, I love that. Yep.
And really so, there's ways to do it, which can be, a hybrid of being seasonally supportive, but also warm, nourishing, not overdoing a supplement or not doing it in a way that you're consuming a ton of tropical produce or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What about oranges? Because some places the oranges are like in California, Florida, you might have a little more access to those in the winter. Do you think those are okay or no?
If you have access to it, right?
If it's growing there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so if you have access to
it. You're not leptin resistant. You're not leptin resistant. Blood sugar dysregulation, and it's going to cause a spike and a swing and all that you can't recover. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And so, I would say that in general, a little bit of lemon or lime in your water is going to be plenty for you in the winter months. And again, it's funny because this time of year when I've got all the vitamin C rich produce available to me, I don't want lemon or lime in my warm water. Like warm water and lemon juice doesn't sound good to me, but then a switch is going to flip. I'm going to guarantee you it's like going to be end of October and be like, where's my warm lemon water, And so just start to listen to your body with that as well.
Yeah. I think that's what has happened so much in our society is that, again, we think that something works once and it's supposed to work forever, like keto. like warm water with lemon in the morning. Like it works good in June. So we should definitely do it in December, and our bodies don't work that way. Shift, our hormones shift, our thyroid shifts, like our microbiome shifts, all of those things shift seasonally. And we need to learn how to adjust our life to sync up with those shifts and support them in the best way. So that's why I think these sorts of conversations are so important for people.
Exactly. And it's only been within the past couple hundred years that we've been able to, that we've had the luxury of not living in sync, right? We could, I mean, if you were living a traditional lifestyle of, back 500 years ago, you would have no chance but to eat local and seasonal. I mean, you would have no chance but to have a local light environment, temperature environment, more darkness in the winter. So I mean, it's like, it's one of those things where
that's what is killing me about social media sometimes is like, you'll post something like that about eating seasonally and people are like, I need the double-blind placebo study to prove what you're saying. I'm like,
10,000 years.
Why?
Look back.
But why do you do you realize that that's funded by somebody who wants to sell you something most of the time? Like there's not a pure reason a lot of the time for doing these sorts of studies. Like,
it's exactly, I know. No, it's so true. It's, always when we did that, we did a whole podcast on research, right? But it's, look through the lens of nature first, right? Use that as that template through which you want to make decisions. But like, honestly, science is so corrupt these days. It's hard for me to believe.
It's a religion. It's as bad as religion. I think I was listening to Nico from Wellness Enterprise talk, because he's doing this really cool little series over on the Wellness Enterprise YouTube channel, plug for them, about kind of the science behind Cosmic Tower, because I think a lot of people just can't really understand how that works.
Yeah.
They just really can't understand the whole quantum aspect, and it's just too out there. And so he's doing these little videos to break it down, like 12-minute videos and it's just so super helpful. And he's going to talk about the ether in the next video. And
go Nico.
Yeah. I love it. And I think that's so important for people to understand, like, science is an institution that we have subscribed to and that we think we have these absolute truths to. And there's this whole other realm out there that can't be explained by science. We have theories, that's the whole thing.
Science,
I'm going on like so many tangents, but people are like, so what do you think about what this person says? It's so different from what you're saying. I'm like, yeah.
If that's their reality, though, I mean, like, it's fine. Like, listen, people, it doesn't matter what you say or I say either. People got to figure out for themselves, right?
What resonates for you?
The truth, your truth is, you got to figure that out for yourself. What works for you?
What makes the most sense for you? How does that resonate with you? Because there is this thing also called the placebo effect.
Totally.
And it's going to impact your health on a bigger level sometimes than the actual quote unquote truth. So that needs to be taken into account also.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the placebo effect at all. And there's a reason why they have to control for it in all clinical trials. It's the power of the mind to heal the body is pretty impressive. A nocebo effect though too, right? There's a nocebo effect as well, right? Which means that if you don't think something's going to help you, or if you think it might be harmful, you are going to get side effects from a sugar pill, right?
Right. 100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. With the whole science thing, like, it's a fine line, because I do believe that there's people out there doing great work, like Tyler LeBaron, right? Yes. We just had his episode. Yes. And I honestly think that the entirety of the research being done at the Molecular Hydrogen Institute is brilliant. It's amazing. I really, really appreciate it. But at the same time, you can't deny.
Like for them, they're having a summit that's no advertising, no paid sponsors. It's just a science on hydrogen. I think it's coming up pretty soon. Maybe by the time this episode is out, people can still register for it. I paid the $27 to sign up. So I get the recordings, but you can get a free version too. Yeah, that's an example of science. I think that's being done to, further help people bring in new innovations in health, that could potentially be extremely valuable. So it's not, like you said, it's not all bad, but
listen, if you people want to know where to find all the stuff, the good stuff, go to the patent databases. Read patents. They are eye-opening, right? They are eye-opening because the patent databases is where the science, the actual science is, legitimately being utilized for various purposes. That's a fun place to go. So like look up methylene blue, look up red light therapy, look up, there's a lot of interesting patents out there. That's the science I like to read.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Anyways,
so to kind of wrap up, I think, do we cover everything? Definitely check out the links in the show notes if you want to join Carrie's challenge or get involved in mine. But did we?
Yeah. We did.
Yeah.
I think we did in terms of why not everyone needs ketosis. We talked about mornings and how there's nuance to that light, secondary Zygeibers. I think this is a great starting point of information for people to kind of see what their quantum lifestyle looks like going into the fall and winter.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm excited. It's going to be great. We'll do more episodes to talk about things as we go through the season. But yeah, definitely check out Carrie's challenge. Will be in the show notes as well as my Leptin challenge. Both of those start on the 23rd. And it's a good way to dive deeper into this and get a little more support as you move into the new season.